It's very interesting. Everywhere we went, people waited patiently. There were those initial hiccups of card readers not working, the smart card readers not working. And but over time, people came out, waited, and started voting. And as I'm aware, voting is still going on all over Nigeria as we speak, because there were a couple of extensions to about because people couldn't vote in about 300 polling units across Nigeria. So I was very surprised that despite the inefficiency of INEC in a lot of ways, despite provocation from governments over the last few weeks, Nigerians were largely peaceful, except in Rivers State and IMO State and a few places, and also in Bauchi, where Boko Haram attacked people in Bauchi and Gombe and parts of Borno State. But for an election of this magnitude, it was largely peaceful. It is the worst case scenario, and I think if people have been following us very well, we said this, that Rivers is one of the places to watch. My calculation about it is that President Jonathan just couldn't afford to lose Lagos, Kano, and Rivers. These are the three largest population areas in Nigeria, and they are all in the hands of the opposition. So I think his wife and himself joined hands and conspired with militants in the area, and they put the area in a lockdown. But we've had enough, or I would say sufficient evidence that this was going to happen. They've been harassing and shooting at people weeks before yesterday. So I wasn't surprised that the combination of direct violence against people, voters, and intimidation, harassment, and outright manipulation of electoral distribution of electoral materials denied a lot of people in Rivers State the opportunity to vote for their candidates. So we haven't seen any results from Rivers State. Things seems to be calm at this point. We just haven't seen results from a lot of the southeast and south states so far. But we've been, results have been trickling in from other parts of the country. You're right. The president practically relocated to Lagos in the last few weeks. That's after the postponement of the election from February 14th. As a matter of fact, he reportedly spent $200 million just bribing all kinds of people, and about 120 million of that amount of money was reportedly given away in Lagos while the president. So he was shuttling between Lagos and Abuja, but he spent more time in Lagos in the last few weeks. But I suppose that they miscalculated that people in Lagos would not be swayed by those kind of activities. And I think they also feel insulted around here in Lagos, especially with the sponsorship of OPC, to come in and disrupt their lives. So people are pissed off. But we also saw that we didn't see the kind of massive turnout that should have happened in Lagos, generally because of the activity of the president and his people. A lot of people have skipped town. But let me warn also that you may not see a huge gap between the president's party, the PDP, and the APC in Lagos. It might actually be a slim margin, not as much as you would expect. Because we went around and some of the investment paid off in certain places, but we don't know yet. The collation is still going on in Lagos. We're just hearing from the collation centers, from the results available so far, that the APC seems to be leading in Lagos very well. The APC seems to be leading in Ogun State. I don't know how well. They're leading in Osun State. They're leading in Oyo State. We've heard that they're leading in Ondo State, which is my home state. The president also invested a lot of money there, but we don't have any official results to back this up. The APC lost in Ekiti State, so Fayose delivered Ekiti to Jonathan. I have my suspicion that the PDP would win in Edo State. And anything from Delta State to Bayelsa is shrouded in mystery in terms of results at this point. So those are likely the places where they just hijack ballot papers, ballot boxes, and they are going to write results. But we'll wait and see. If you shift up north, we have heard that the APC is leading in Kogi, in Kwara, and I haven't been able to get the direct results from Plateau. We heard they're leading in Taraba. So all the results that we're getting are unofficial and unconfirmed that should won. But it looks like it's going to be an interesting race. I spoke to Olisa Metu this morning, and he did say that they are doing well. That's the PDP publicity secretary. But when I asked him where are they doing well, he said we're doing well in Anambra and IMO states. And I asked what about Kano? He didn't have a very interesting answer to give at that point. So it looks like they're also dealing with the reality of a tight race. We don't know at this point. Everybody's waiting. We are waiting for collation. We just got some official results from Osun State and Ekiti State so far. I've spoken to people in Adamawa State, and they said they won 2 senatorial seats, and the PDP won 1. So President Jonathan is supposedly leading in Madagali local government and Michika local government, but he lost in Mubi, which is the biggest population area in Adamawa State. Kano, there's no question about it. Kaduna, we don't have any official results yet. I don't think he lost, and this is very important to state. I don't think he lost. He lost in 2 highly populated areas in his senatorial district. That's Otupo and one other place. But somehow he's retained his seat. That's what we're hearing. But let me say that David Mark, the Senate president, has never won an election fairly before. And if he won in this particular race, I think if overall their party loses, he will be tossed out of office with the help of a legitimate tribunal. Well, we just saw Osun results, and it didn't seem that it was true that they lost. Femi Fani-Kayode did not lose. Actually, they did well in his local government. I must say this. So the only 3 local governments in Osun that PDP seemed to have done very well or competed very well are actually where he came from. But I don't have specifics of his exact polling unit. But it's very instructive to say that yesterday I watched him on TV after the elections were over in a lot of places. And I've never seen Femi Fani-Kayode be that humble before in my life. Like people would joke around here, maybe he had just taken his medicine. This is where it's also very interesting. They have all gone a little calm. They've been very calm. The only official information we have from the PDP chairman, which is kind of very shocking, he came out this morning through Premium Times and said that the card reader problem wasn't that bad. So he just waved off the card reader issue. The second statement had just come into my mailbox from Olisa Metu, which is an official confirmation of my discussion with him earlier in the day, saying that there are a lot of results that are out there that are fake, and that people should not take those results from the APC social media people seriously. But officially, we have not heard from the likes of Reuben Abati, Doyin Okukwe. They've all kind of gone quiet, and in a way, people are thinking maybe that means that they are beginning to accept the reality of the situation. But there's also another school of thought that thinks that maybe they're up to something, they're up to no good and plotting something again. Nobody knows at this time, but we haven't heard officially from any of them. They have not spoken officially, but after the elections last night, Buhari did address the press, and and said that they're watching, and he asked his supporters to be calm. And I heard from some of his operatives that he went to bed very early. He looked very unruffled and very calm. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's also because there was nothing to wait for. But interestingly, President Jonathan did not give the kind of interview that you see him come up with after his interview. His most prominent interview, and the last time I saw him on TV was actually when his card reader failed, and he came out and spoke maturely, saying that it's not representative of what is happening around the country, kind of supporting INEC. But after the elections last night, we didn't see him on TV, and we don't see those unofficial pictures that used to be leaked by his people, him popping champagne or hugging his wife. We haven't seen the wife as well since the elections last night. It will be great to see how she looks and feels. Well, I think he used the opportunity of the interview to talk about some of the problems, but he was pretty confident that this wasn't as bad as 2011, and that elections are going to happen in some places today. And he also announced that some elections in Jigawa and another place, I think, maybe in Edo State or somewhere, will happen a few weeks from now because they couldn't just find ballot papers. We actually had very interesting experience yesterday. As you know, we travel incognito, but in some ways we didn't feel harassed. We actually met soldiers who were saying, well, you know, they were worried about who we were, and in one instance, we were secretly filming, and they caught me filming and wanted to smash my camera. And I said, well, you can't smash my camera. I'm doing election duty. And the boss came out and said, well, you know, we're keeping away from the ballots, the polling units, because you guys wrote bad things about us, and now we can't even go near polling units. So please leave us alone where we are, you know. So that was resolved amicably. They didn't smash my cell phone camera, and you know, and when we were leaving, one of them we told the guy who was most notorious among them, we decided I would tell him who we are, and we said we are from Sahara, and he said, oh, you people, you have a way of filming people secretly, please don't film us, and we hope we are not going to see this on Sahara, and they let us go. So I would say that everywhere we went, the security agencies conducted themselves very well. I have to give that to them. I cannot speak for Rivers State or IMO State and places where they decided to go rogue. But as I think generally across the country, the impression we got from all the citizen reporters, about 3,000 of them, by the way, who have been providing us information instantaneously about as things are going on, seem to not have issues with security agents at all, except in those flashpoint areas of Rivers, Imo, and yes, even in Bayelsa, we didn't get the impression that things were very bad. I think it's because Imo State is the only state in the southeastern part of Nigeria that was going the other way. So, and I think the president is trying to capture, as they use, that's the word they use, the operating word, to capture the whole of the southeast, and Imo State was going to make that difficult. And they went out there with full force and with all the apparatus of the state to just muzzle the governor of Imo State. So interestingly, the most notorious character in Imo was the Minister of State for Education, I think, Omoyele, who has been going around, she took soldiers down and they locked down a lot of places, harassed people, arrested a lot of people. So that's what they did. I think they repeated what they did in Ekiti State, in Imo. and Rivers State. Absolutely. I just told you that when we met in at least 2 military checkpoints, they mentioned the fact that they have been told not to go near ballot papers because of the negative reporting they got from Ekiti Gate. Yes. And like I said, they conducted themselves very well everywhere we went yesterday. We didn't see soldiers beating up anybody, but we saw a few checkpoints. They stopped us, and each time we presented our credentials, they let us go. The only time we came across, heard of media practitioners yesterday was when we went to visit the polling unit of Governor Fashola. We saw a lot of them there waiting with him as he queued up on this long queue waiting to vote. We didn't come across media a lot after that. But like I mentioned, this wasn't a legacy media election, it was a social media election. And I mentioned when we spoke the last time that the Nigerian media has a social media problem on their hands. So the social media has taken initiative from the traditional legacy media, and they are just following. But we're following here also. We've seen a lot of television stations doing the same thing you guys are doing. News reporters from the daily newspapers all trying to catch up. But they're all playing catch up. The real media right now is the new media, and that's social media. I mean, the place you go to get the best updates of information, even including us now, which we have to address when we get back, is on Facebook and Twitter.